Hey y'all, I am coming at you with a form fix for this week. We always do a ton of push-ups throughout the week, and we sometimes hear you guys talking about how you have some shoulder pain while you are doing this move. So what I want to talk about today is kind of what that full range of motion looks like with a push-up and some ways we can work up to doing that full range of motion from our toes, okay? So with that full range of motion, all right, especially if we're starting from our toes, the main thing here is I want my wrist right underneath my shoulders, okay? I don't want my hands too far out, all right? That's gonna make us have some shoulder pain and some tightness in our elbows. I want to make sure they're right underneath my shoulders, okay? So I'm going to put them right underneath my shoulders, then come up, okay, onto my toes. You'll notice that from this position, I have a nice straight line from my neck all the way down to my hips, and I want to keep it that way. A lot of times in camp, what we'll see is your first move is you'll bring that head down and you'll try to go down into that push-up, okay? What that is going to do is that's going to put a lot of stress on your neck, okay? And we want to limit that because we don't want any pulled muscles in our neck right there, okay? So as I'm in this position, I want to pick a spot on the floor that is, I would say, 3 to 4 inches right in front of my hands, right? So that's where I'm looking the entire time, even as my body is going down, okay? My elbows, if my elbows track out straight to the side, again, that's going to cause that elbow pain and that shoulder pain, and that's what we want to limit. You'll hear us talking about that 45-degree angle, okay? So from the start of my hand, it's an angle that goes back at a diagonal, not straight out to the side, not straight back, but kind of in between right there. That's what we mean by when we say that 45-degree angle. So I'm going to get into my push-up. My wrists are right underneath my shoulders, okay? As I go down into that push-up, I'm keeping my eyes on that same spot, and my chest is down towards the ground. And as I push back up, everything stays in line. Another thing that we'll see when you guys go to push up, your hips will sink down. Okay, that's going to put a lot of pressure on that lower back and those shoulders too. So we want to make sure everything is staying in that nice line right here as I go to push back up, right? If you can't do that from your toes, that's okay, all right? It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're not good at doing push-ups. We can work on that and we can build up to that. So I'm going to start from the first variation from the push-up that we can do all the way to the push-up on our toes, all right? Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start off from my knees. Again, I want that nice line from my hips to my neck right here, okay? I'm looking at that same spot. My hands are in line. I'm going to go all the way down, elbows checking back at that 45, okay? To laying on the ground. I'm going to release those hands, and as I go to push back up, everything is staying in line, okay? My hips aren't coming up, my hips aren't sinking down, all right? Once I can master that, okay, I can next go into just that push-up from my knees, okay? Again, everything's nice in line, pushing right back up. Once you feel that full range of motion, and that's coming down to your chest and pushing back up, all right? That's the second variation. The third variation we're going to do is this time we're actually going to start out on our toes, okay? So we're going to be in that high plank position. Everything's nice and in line. So I'm going to push up all the way down. Then I'm going to come back up on my knees, okay? So once I can master that, let's say I can do 10 in a row with perfect form, that chest coming down to the ground, that's when I'm going to try to do that push-up from my toes. But before we do that full range of motion, I can do another variation where I'm coming all the way down to my chest, releasing those hands in that push-up, then starting back from my toes. Again, everything is nice and in line right there, okay? Again, once we master that, we can go into that full range of motion, all right? So there's 4 or 5 different variations we could do right there, okay? So when we say full range of motion, we're talking about that neck is in line with that spine and those hips, okay? We have those hands under our shoulders. Our elbows are tracking back at that 45-degree angle, and especially that chest. We're getting that chest down, okay? And it's okay to start out from your toes and then to go down to your knees. I have to do that sometimes. It's all about getting to failure, and we're focusing on that full range of motion. Let's try those in camp this week. Next week, you can even practice those at home, and you'll start to see some progress in those push-ups. We'll see you at camp.